Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a little bit of swamp scouting. So before I do any kind of scouting, I always try to set up like a plan, a big picture plan. So I look at the area around the swamp, and one thing about our pressured southern deer is, especially the bucks, they don't mind traveling a long ways to go to, say, a food plot or something to check those, or if they want to eat. And they'll even travel a long ways to any kind of food source. Their bedding security means a lot. So they can, like I said before, with our winters, it don't get bad until later, way late in the hunting season, sometimes at the end of the hunting season. So there's plenty of browse. So a buck can bed off a mile or so away from a major food source or major doe area, that he can just get up and right at dark or whatever and slip out and start browsing along until he gets to a main food source. So I always kind of look when I'm getting ready to scout is where food plots, cuts, controlled burns, thinning areas are kind of are before I go, just to give me an idea of what the big picture is. Then from there, I'm trying to look at, so this place we're looking at now, the swamps are in the bottoms, and you got little ridges and fingers and stuff all around them. So I'm kind of looking for the thicker ridges, thicker points that have a lot of secondary points for bedding that's thick, growed up, and using that as my focal point as far as bedding stuff to look toward where bedding areas are. And I would hunt closer to that, any time of the year, whether it's pre-rut, rut, or whatever. So I'm kind of looking at that, find these little points, and what I'll do is I'll start out skirting them points before I go into the swamp, looking for high spots and bedding areas in there, and creek funnels, different types of habitat or edges that can make funnels in the swamp. So right now I'm walking the edge, just got here, I'm on like a point, and they've burnt this year, this spring sometime or another, which makes it great because you can kind of tell a lot about tracks and stuff, and it gives you general ideas. Now beds is a whole different thing. It's hard to find them because the leaves are burnt, so them flattened out spots where they were bedding at, it's going to be hard to see as far as leaves stuff. So but we're going to walk around this and get into swamp stuff. But again, you're concentrating is finding general bedding areas or bedding cover where the bucks or the does could bed, different secondary points, humps, and how they would access it or how they would skirt it. Because there's a couple thoughts of that. Is they'll just they'll catch the thermals one way or the other and skirt them either higher or lower, picking up thermals, picking up does and heat and stuff. So this is, like I said, I'm pretty much chasing the rut. I don't down here this area, I don't never come down here early season, so always waiting on the rut. So we're gonna start looking. The rat's not with me today, so you're gonna miss her, but I'm gonna start walking around, looking at these points and checking out tracks and stuff like that, and see what we can see. Hunt for a big old track, maybe a shed. You might find a shed now that you can see better with it burnt, but it's starting to sprout up good. So anyway, big picture first, and then make the things a little bit smaller, what you're looking at different points. Skirt them. I'm gonna do level changes, especially since it's burnt so good. You can do level changes without being affected that much as far as getting tore up or cut up going through briars. So hang with me, I'll see what we find. Okay, I'm going to show you if you can see this trail. I got a trail that's coming off the side of a point going down to a draw. I don't know if y'all can see that right through there. This is a trail that goes that way. And I think I'm going to look for some tracks up here in a sandy spot, and then I'll walk down. But that goes up to some pretty nasty pine thick stuff that they've burned, and it's growed up. Perfect bedding on some of these humps up here. This trail goes on around this way. There's a fresh doe track up there coming out of here. But this trail, like I say, it's running across this point above the swamp. a pretty defined trail. This could go, they could peel off and go down the secondary point to bed right above the swamp. And here's a cool feature that kind of gets overlooked. It's, like if it hadn't been burned, I probably would never see this. This steep drainage. So you can kind of look and see like a trail going around the top of it, going down to that point. But a deer or a buck can use this with the thermals, because the thermals are going to pull down this thing, you know, early in the mornings and late in the evenings. Then make a switch. They can use this depending on how they want to do it, and use that as cover to access this point as a bedding point. So yeah, that's a pretty, I mean, that's pretty unique. You know, it's hard to find stuff like that sometimes, because it, and if you get off in there, you can tell it didn't burn much. It's thick, so thick. So that's something cool I'm going to look at. I'm going to walk this trail back on around that goes down into the swamp, just kind of see, get an idea of what they're doing. Okay, this is a prime example of a good hard transition line. So you can look over here. Swamp is 40-50 yards, but you see all that thick edge. Just fantastic transition. And you can kind of look at this ground and you see just track after track after track after track. It's just, over time, it's just tracks everywhere. This is a very good population area of, you know, deer, bunches of deer. Some pretty good deer, not, you know, monster every now and then, but generally, so let's say a 120 is a whopper down here. You know, of course, there's bigger, but hey, it's just the genetics are not as good here as some of the other places. But it's a, you know, we love coming down here, and, you know, pretty successful here. So, but this area is, I mean, the deer, all they're gonna do is, you know, they're close to where they can get right back in that thicket. They come out here eating this fresh sprouts and fresh browse at this time, you know, and just, you're still using the cover even though it's spring to feed. And it's, you know, this browse, that's one good thing about this burn. You know, they keep it every 3 years or so, and that stuff just sprouts back up so quick. Whether if it was 6 inches of leaves, it wouldn't be doing that. So amazing how it's looking right now. And the deer will be in fantastic shape by hunting season, unless something, you know, crazy happens, but it probably ain't. We've had plenty of rain, and there's rain fixing to come up the next couple of days. So this trail that I'm kind of walking just keeps going. It's just going over these little humps. It's just, they can peel off and bed and different secondaries points, you know, up or down. It just depends on how they want to do it. They can maneuver with the wind or maneuver with the sun. And this trail is historically, you know, been here forever. So. But if it hadn't been burned, I wouldn't be able to walk through here without just getting tore up. We have to hack through here. But it's pretty neat. Still studying it. So here in probably an hour, I'm gonna walk this for another hour or so, messing around. Then I'll go off in the actual swamp, looking and seeing what was historically going, you know, during the hunting season, because they'll kind of hang out in there and get pushed in there to an extent to, you know, to fight the pressure to stay in that stuff. It stays green year round. So anyway, we'll keep on looking at that. Got followed some tracks like on a faint, slightly worn trail. It comes up through here. There's like an older track. There's you know, it's a decent rub for this area. It's old historical rub, excuse me. But comes up, you got a transition up there back in the pines. And it's hard to tell, but that flat spot right there really looks like where something has been bedding, pretty, a pretty good bit. I haven't found any droppings or anything around it, but it's, like I said, it's not been that long since it's been burnt, so who knows. Right there might be old droppings, and it does look like it, but when it's burned like this, some of that stuff gets burned up, and then if it rains with the ground being, just dirt basically, it'll wash somewhere. So, but it does look like a good bedding spot on a point, a secondary point. There's a bunch of them around this little. There's several. This flat goes on around. It's thick. Looks like part of it didn't burn, but anyway, it's places to look at, and that looks like another bed up there to me. But like I said before, with it being burned, it's hard to tell, but that spot is flattened out for a reason. And pigs don't do that, because whenever they make beds, they especially in the wintertime, they dig themselves down and pack sticks and leaves in it if it's somewhere they're going to keep bedding. So it's pretty, I'm 100% sure it's a deer. So, and probably a buck by the looks of the rubs being there. So, but it's cool. But boy, that fire looks like it got pretty hot. But in places, this place right here didn't miss the spot on burning. But I'm gonna walk back down and go to the next finger. That's what I'm doing, is just skirting and popping up on these little fingers and little secondary points and seeing what I see and kind of follow tracks. But there's tracks in here. Just there's old track there. So, tracks everywhere. So that's all I'm doing, is skirting this transition zone, and then, or a hard edge. People got different names for it. And then when I come to a little secondary point, I'm going to pop up on it and look at it, kind of check it out, and walk down it maybe to an extent. But a lot of times I feel like they'll bed pretty close to the transition somewhere, either in or out. So, but here in about a month or so, you won't even be able to get in here. It'll be so grown up. I'll be back here in a minute. Run off and then grip back into where it hadn't got burned. There's some older small deer dropping. Just falling this trail off this point on the downside. About low. It almost looks like a bed there. No dropping. Flat spots, perfect spot for it. But it's thick, as you can see. This stuff right here stays green year round. So you can go back and look at that sick point that I killed, and he was in that transitioning through this stuff like this. And all I'm doing is, like I say, walking these points, secondary points, up and down, looking for anything that's big buck or mature buck related. Anything off of this one, so. But this is the kind of, you can look at it, perfect cover. Just a lot of people don't like it because you can't see, and especially during the rut. But during the rut, in a lot of these places, the pressure's been on so much that you've got to get to the thick stuff, at least the edges, to have your team to better your odds. Because if you stay more out in the open wood stuff, it's gonna be tough unless you can get over a good cut over that's got deer in it. But this stuff right here is the ticket, most of the time during the rut. Okay, getting down in the swamp a little bit now, and got on this creek going toward the swamp. Kind of decent creek crossing. You can see tracks going up in different places. And here's where doe slid down, crossing, and you can look up there, there's more fingers, more of those secondary points that go up to a big ridge system. So but I'm probably not going to go up to them today. I'm going to follow this on around into the swamp looking at it. So. But fresh tracks. Of course, this place has got, like I said before, this place has got a lot of dang deer. So. And they got plenty of dang browse. I don't know if they like ferns, which probably not, but they got plenty of this stuff. This browse coming up like crazy. That's one of their favorite things, greenbrier. Greenbrier, you can see some of that been picked off, but they love them greenbrier. I don't think they can kill all that. There's some more. We're heading into that stuff. So it's like a flat funnel coming out of a couple of draws. So might be a different. I think there's some older track crossing right there too. So right above the real thick part of the swamp. So. I always check these places for name tracks. I just have to look. There's a that right there is a buck track. You know, it's not them up north four finger tracks, but not a bad track. But you can see where it come across and jump up to there. Following them points. So we found a buck track. So that's one of the main reasons come scouting, you know. Scouting's not finding, just like hunting's not killing or fishing's not catching. So but hey, that's fresh. Makes me happy. That just gives you a real fantastic starting point. When I get back, you can look at more maps, or I'm going to keep scouting for a couple more hours and just see what I can see. So I like to see some big old rubs maybe, but you never know. Keep on looking though. Okay, I walked on down about 30 more yards and found some more. Appears to be at least one buck track, and he got some weight on him. So there's another track beside it, so it looks like maybe a bachelor group. But you can also see that 3 or 4 different tracks, and you got some coming back this way. So, but like I said, going up to them points right there. Almost look like an old rub. Walking this swamp rubbing, maybe, who knows. I'll walk up on the other side and kind of look a little bit, but that's one thing about burning, you can kind of track them some. So. That turns into hard pines up there. Hardwoods there, so that's a, right here's the buck track going. You can see it spread toe out there, so he got some weight to him. So that's something else you want to kind of look for, is these different fingers that got different transitions, you know, pines to hardwood. Not fine when them big old sheds. Okay, I'm in the swamp now. You know, not a whole lot of water in here right now, but just pockets, and it's real mushy and stuff. And right here's quite a few doe tracks going that way. I'm gonna just basically, I'm just gonna zigzag. You know, I got my tracks on them, and on my phone where I can kind of keep up where I'm at, and just zigzag and look at different edges, because I know that there's a bunch of different points of stuff that lead off to this by the map, and they're, I think, mile 3/4 or something like that, there's a pretty good sized food plot. Then there, I think maybe a mile or so in a different direction there might be another one. So, but all this is just like a transition area or a travel corridor when the pressure's on, because you can see this is basically what it looks like during hunting season. So it might not be quite as green, but it ain't much different. So some of this stuff is starting to bloom and stuff like that, but it's just where they stay away from the people, so they can jump one jump and be away from somebody. Or if they just smell somebody, or they can just sneak off pretty easily. So a lot of people don't like hunting this, because you even getting up in a tree, you know, is gonna make it tough unless you just find the right edge. I'll kind of tend to hunt the edge. Well, I don't want to walk in here this much when I'm hunting, because it just you don't have many chances. You know, most people say first sit, best sit. So you don't, and that's true to a point. But if you can get in and out without leaving a bunch of scent and without crossing trails, you know, you can do more than one sit, and I will do more than one sit in places like this, because it's just too good. I've had a lot of success in places like this down here in these areas, so I don't generally hunt the hardwoods. You know, if I was early season bow hunting or something, I might hunt the acorns or hunt the edges by the acorns, but when the pressure's on, I'm hunting the edge of this somewhere. So close to bedding, or close to where multiple things come together, where I can get in here, like I say, without the wind messing me up too bad. So, because you're going to have to give up, most of the time, you're going to give up one section. But the benefit of hunting a place like this, it's got a bunch of things that feed it. You've got multiple options for deer to come through, and that's what you're looking for. So we're gonna keep on looking. Found a big old rub. This is on the edge of the swamp, but it's a daggone good one. So on this cedar tree, that's this past season. Brow tine digging in, and that's almost as big as my leg. So. That's a dang good one. That's the kind of deer we're looking for. That's on the edge of this swamp. So I just come out and just done a zigzag all the way across, and I'm fixing to go back in, and I just seen this sucker. So I have to look at that, show y'all that. It's like, that's a good dang deer there. Okay, I'm kind of in the middle of like a swampy area, and come up on like a little intersection. You can see that's like a creek drainage or little waterway. You can see tracks coming down, coming this way. You can also see tracks going that way. So one track going that way, tracks going that way. Deer tracks, they're not pig tracks. So it's kind of an intersection, so you can kind of, you know, mark it, and then so basically, unless I could pull my phone out and kind of figure out where I'm at, but basically I don't know where I'm at because I'm just out here in the middle of it and everything looks the same. So I can mark this as an intersection, and it's got old and newer tracks, and kind of look at that, and maybe tie it into that big rub that we seen, you know, 30 minutes ago or so. So I would probably tend, as of right now, if I had to make some kind of decision where I'd hunt at, be back there close to that trail by that rub, because I can probably get there, you know, coming through some hardwood without coming into this nasty stuff, and just set up on that during the rut. So especially because of seeing this intersection and this stuff, because, you know, it's down south, you know, they're going to have acorns, you know, big acorn crop here. That'll be white oaks, water oaks, red oaks, you know, and I think some bur oaks, but there's a good variety, and let alone all the browse. So you can kind of, they don't move that much. You know, some of the cutover deer, as far as the cutovers get cut again, they might move a little bit, but they won't be gone long because that stuff will grow back pretty quick. But this stuff pretty much stays the same. They'll do some thinning around it in places like that where that'll help. So, and then just keep that stuff in mind. And like I say, I'll look at this on the map, and more than likely I'll be hunting back there somewhere, you know, around that rub possibly, or by that trail somewhere, or where I can see that trail from on up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and skirt back. I'm going back across. I went all the way across from that rub and moved down 50 yards or so, and going back to the general direction of that rub, but hopefully on down a little farther. So, okay, here's some historical sign that some people might miss, but it's a little bit older, but it's another piece of the puzzle. You can see this tree has been pushed over, rubbed and pushed over years ago. And here's one that's rubbed down a little bit lower, but pushed over. So that kind of goes in some of the attitude of a buck, or the personality of a buck, one that likes pushing trees over or tearing up trees. And it's not far from that junction place or intersection that we looked at earlier. So, okay, y'all, that's probably gonna wrap this turkey hunting / scouting trip up. You know, it's only the second time I've actually come out turkey hunting, and haven't heard one gobble yet. But hey, that's par for me. I can't hear that good anyway. Most times, if I can do any count, it'd be if I got somebody that can hear and point which direction, because most times I can't even tell what direction they're in. But it's been a good day scouting. You know, remember this. To me, I got two main reasons why I scout. One is to keep learning more about my area, or expanding my areas, you know, my prime areas. You know, you're always can learn. Don't never think you know it all. You know, keep checking them areas, looking for, you know, because they can move a little bit or change some of their habitat some, or their actions some. So due to habitat change slightly, where it'd be thin and, you know, cuts and burns and stuff. So remember that. You know, keep your area checked. You know, learn more about it. You know, expand it some, because don't let them pattern you, because you can get patterned. You know, but I like learning, you know, 1.5 mile, 2 mile square area, and learn that the best I can. Pick out an area that I know that's got big bucks, or bucks I want to hunt, and learn them, and have 3 or 4, you know, main areas. Then the second reason I want to scout is to find bucks to hunt early season, you know, and I don't get to do that much, because the main area we hunt by Halloween, it's, you know, everything kind of changes, so you need to start transitioning to pre-rut hunting. So, but You know, a lot of people are like, well, I'd rather pick out a single buck. Well, you can pick out single bucks, that's fine. It's tough to do. I know people that be concentrating on a buck and then go hear about a deer at a taxidermy and go there and it's the one they had on camera when they were hunting him and been hunting him for a week or two and he'd been dead. So I, picking out bucks is fine. I've done it a couple of times, killed a couple of deer that I've had on camera, but it's tough to do, especially in the South, so I'd rather have up my odds and hunt, concentrate on funnels and stuff that are associated or transition areas that are associated with rut. So I mean, I like areas, I find areas and learn areas where more than one big buck will come through checking doe groups. So pre-season or post-season scouting, I'm looking for areas that have different bucks outside of my main areas to start out on, for me and Kathy. That way I'm not burgering up my main areas. So there's two thoughts to that. But that's what I do. I mean, I'll concentrate on the areas I don't want to hunt during the rut, and pre-rut, and maybe the secondary rut. Sometimes that works out a lot better because they seem to be up on their feet more. But anyway, I'm post-season scouting, learning different areas, and expanding my areas that I do know, and always, I always come back and check them every year and post-season and make a big run around and then go to the new areas and check them out. And this is a newer swamp that gum tornadoes have been rough down here. I just come through a big tornado where a tornado just sat down and went for 400 or 500 yards. It looked like just annihilated stuff. But it'll create, more habitat. They'll be like rabbits down here because that tornado stuff makes a dang mess and it's thick. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here and hopefully I can get a couple more in. It's fixing to be so green now. It's a lot of work to try to find anything. But I'll try to do a couple more, maybe another turkey hunt or two. So appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all. Hey everybody, we sure appreciate y'all watching our videos, and if you don't care, like, subscribe if you haven't, and share, tell your friends. And if you hadn't had a chance to pick up one of my books, please pick one up on Amazon. If you want one signed or personalized, anything like that, hey, I'll do it. So we just really appreciate y'all's support. So thank y'all for stopping by, and we'll see y'all in the next video.